So when it comes to building bigger glutes, the big dump truck, the whatever terms you kids are using these days, we've got the classic exercises that everyone does. Yes, the hip thrust with barbell or with a dumbbell. Yes, the barbell squats. But today I actually wanted to show you 4 exercises that you're likely not using to build the glutes, and they're pretty creative, they're pretty fun, so let me go ahead and show you exactly what they are. Gentlemen, Tanner Weidman of the BarbarianBody.com, and what I'm going to be showing you here is actually a routine. You can start with the first exercise, go through to the very last one. There's a couple of alternatives in the case you don't have specific equipment, or you just like to try it out with a variation. So the first exercise to start off here is going to be the Romanian deadlift. No mean to call out Andrew Tate. Hopefully they free him soon. Love that guy. Now there's actually a variation of this exercise that is similar, and that is going to be the stiff-legged deadlift. However, that will allow us to hit a little bit more of the hamstrings. With this Romanian deadlift, with those knees not quite locked out, you got a slight bend there. This is what is going to allow us to remove a little bit of the hamstrings and actually allow us to hit the glutes a lot more. Now, I like to think of this exercise as sort of like the pre-fatigue, the mass builder of the glutes. This is really going to give you a nice full stretch, especially at the bottom of the range of motion here. And when performing this exercise, this is when I like to use a lot of weight. I'm looking for sets of about 8 repetitions. This is where I'm trying to max out. Now, as you see here, you can do it obviously with the barbell, which you were just seeing right there. However, you can also use this with a dumbbell variation. I actually do prefer the dumbbell variation. It just feels a little bit easier. The shoulders aren't locked internally rotated, and I feel that you can actually get a little bit more depth with those dumbbells. Now, the next exercise here, walking lunges. You won't see this on most people's list for building your glutes, but I am telling you, compared to a traditional standing front lunge or even a Bulgarian split squat, the walking lunge is going to demand so much more out of your glutes because of the micro oscillations of the muscles firing while the muscles are trying to stabilize you while you're walking in a pattern, which means you're going to get a lot more glute activation. Now, for maximal glute activation, you actually want to focus on trying to make sure that each one of those steps is as far out as possible so we can get a full stretch of the hamstring as well as the glutes. That more shallower of a lunge stance will allow you to hit more of the quad, less of the glutes, so ensure you're taking those nice far steps. Now again, the main thing I'm looking for here is a maximal stretch of those glutes. Go ahead, do yourself about 20 to 40 yards of walking lunges. You can go in one direction and then walk right back. Get yourself about 3 sets. I'm telling you, if you just did this exercise for your glutes, the next day, good luck sitting down on that toilet. Now, the next exercise here is going to be the kettlebell swings. Kettlebell swings are great because you can get a higher rep range. And in fact, when I'm performing this exercise, I like to aim for sets of about 45 to 60 seconds. This really does just crank up the intensity on you hitting those glutes in a much more unique pattern than, let's say, getting, 10 repetitions or 12 repetitions. Because if you're performing it for that type of a duration, you're going to be more in that 20 to 30 repetitions, which is really going to be a shock to those glutes. And ensure while you're performing this exercise, you're not just trying to bring the weight up. Your arms aren't supposed to be activated at all. Rather, they're just following through as you're doing the hip thrust motion right there and squeezing those glutes at the peak of the range of motion when the weight is getting close to about that shoulder height. Now, an exercise that is actually even a little bit better than the kettlebell swings, I don't see too many people doing it, is going to be the band hip thrusts. Now, when it comes to any exercise, I mentioned that the reason resistance bands, these things are often a lot better than just, say, dumbbells, barbells, or cables, because as that band gets stretched out, that is going to make the exercise that much more difficult because it's going to be a lot harder to continue to push through at the top of the range of motion. So securing that band to a nice, stable, heavy machine so it's not moving around when you're doing these thrusts, loop it around at the bottom, go ahead, step yourself out, and as you're hip thrusting there, again, focus on squeezing and contracting your glutes. You're not just thinking about, let's bring our hips out as far as possible. I don't know how that looks on camera, but instead I'm trying to contract and squeeze those glutes maximally. Now, I just wanted to quickly show you a couple of mistakes to avoid on this. Number one, this is not sort of like a squat when you're doing the hip thrust. Rather, you're thinking of just strictly trying to hinge at those hips, maybe have a slight bend in those knees, and you're just trying to bring those hips as forward as hard as possible while contracting those glutes. Additionally, those fast, quick, speedy repetitions are not going to maximally target those glutes. We want to be thinking about time under tension for each repetition. And in fact, what I like to do is add about a half of a second of an isometric squeeze at the peak of the range of motion where I'm really squeezing those glutes. Now, as I was mentioning with those resistance bands, these are one of my favorite pieces of equipment to add into your workouts because of the unique strength curve that you just can't get with dumbbells, barbells, or even cable machines. Introducing the X3 bar, which actually allows you to combine a bunch of unique exercises such as a deadlift, a squat, overhead press, barbell curls, bent over barbell rows, and a myriad of multiple other exercises that you can incorporate into your workouts, which will give you that increasingly demanding strength curve at the peak of the repetition, where normally most exercises tend to get easier with traditional equipment.
Okay, now before we go any further, I'd like to thank today's video sponsor, and that's going to be X3. You got to check this thing out. Bar is insane. This is one of the highest quality pieces of fitness equipment that I think I've ever come across.
Now, the X3 bar is always selling out. There's going to be a link down in the description, and if you use code Barbarian, you're going to save yourself a big chunk of money off of this as well. I think they have free shipping globally or maybe just in the United States. So make sure you take advantage of that. This thing is always selling out, so try and take advantage while it is still available. Now, you know what else goes with a great set of glutes? A decent set of calves, even for all of you skinny calf kind of guys. If you're interested, check this video right here where I will show you absolutely killer calf workouts. Check the comment sections. Guys are praising this workout. It is the truth.